Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID. Enter your participant ID followed by... You are in the meeting now.
Committee, there you go. Roll call, please.
Thank you. Chairman Sweet,
Here.
Mr. Garibaldi, Mr. Jorgensen, Ms. Fisher Mizuraka, Mr. Inyart,
Here.
Vice Chairman Anderson,
Here.
Ms. Thompson, Mr. Byrne,
Hello.
Mr. Baracco,
Here.
Ms. Houghton, Mr. Dow,
Present.
Mr. Patton, Ms. Heisenbuttel. Here. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Would you please rise and join me in the pledge? Hope you all had a chance to look at tonight's agenda. And if there's no one, any changes, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye, aye. Opposed? Moving on. Thank you for the very complete minutes from last meeting. I noted no changes myself.
They look great to
Anybody
me.
else wish to comment on the agenda?
On the minutes? I had one clarification I'd like to offer, and that's, I don't have the page in front of me, but in the section where we're talking about the Indian Grinding Rock area and Pine Grove, you asked, I think, if I would consider Grinding Rock more Volcano or Pine Grove, and I consider it more Pine Grove, but it wasn't written in that context in the minutes, so I can work with Heather to make sure we get the wording right.
Thank you very much. Okay. Anything else?
Well, it did prove that I speak a lot at these meetings, so. So I'm recognized, and with that being said, I will move to approve the minutes.
And I'd like to second and also state we really didn't need proof.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the September 29th minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Oh, with the adjustments to that.
Understood.
Yeah.
And we have one abstention, I'm sure. Katya wasn't here last time, and she's here tonight, so.
Right.
Okay. Public matters not on the agenda. Anyone wish to address this committee or or any member of the committee wished to address the committee on any item that's not on the agenda tonight. Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on. A review of what we've done and how to use the information demonstration by Ruslan. I asked this to be on the agenda because we have been getting some new faces on Zoom and some new faces in the audience. And I think my personal opinion is that we're about ready to take off on some mapping exercises. And so how did we get to where we are? What information have we had to use? What have we done? So I've asked Ruslan to kind of give us a run through on that. It'll be old news to several members of the committee that have been very active, but by and large, I think we can all use a refresher catch up.
So for the past few months, the various different committee members have been coming into our workstation to create and identify communities of interest. And the past few meetings, we've kind of ironed out duplicates and merged a few different communities that we saw fit. And at the request of Keith, I made a tab on the Redistricting County website for community identified communities of interest, of which there are 55. So some of them, there are, you could say duplicates, like Amador Pines 1 and 2, but they have different boundaries. But they are all here listed in alphabetical order. And if you scroll down a little bit, there's the web map just showing all the different communities with the layer list here that can be turned on and off to give you some more room, or you could just view a larger map here. Regardless, though, if you want, you can go through and see where they're all at. And unfortunately, since we did use 2010 data to make these communities through the selection of the 2010 census blocks, that's what our tool had, and that's what we did. They're not exactly geographically correct to the community, but it's the best as we could get. Additionally, they all have 2010 populations. If you click on them, then you can see. In addition to all the different communities of interest that are here, I also created a layer of all of them merged, just so rather than going in one by one, you could just see them all at once and quickly turn them on and off. Also, there's assessor parcels, just the boundaries. If you wanted current city limits, spheres of influence, census designated places, and community service districts. And this could also be, this same map could be found at, trying to get out of this. I'm in full screen, so I'm trying to. Oh, there we go. It could also be found at the Redistricting Hub. So on the main county website, there's all these links, but we have the Redistricting Esri Hub site here. And if you click on this, it'll take you to the Hub site that has some more maps. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself because some of the maps here do have some topics that we can talk about later. But for the most part, the communities of interest are what we've been working on so far. Oops, sorry. And also, I guess I forgot, all these layers that have been made, we can now use them to start creating districts. We can put them in, and I think It's pretty easy to do.
Okay. But this is only available on the, planning department website.
This is available on the county just website. Anyone can access this. This, as well as the hub site that has these other maps.
So this is the first time that community members will be able to see those communities of interest that we have described, and they'll be able to manipulate them as well.
They cannot manipulate them. They can turn them on and off, though.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
Turn them on and off, so that you can see some of them are overlapping, some of them aren't.
Yes.
Um,
You can also change transparency and some other things if you feel inclined.
right.
Do you think that the best way, Katya Anderson, District 3, do you think that the best way to kind of save anything, if you're looking at that you like, would be just to like screenshot it? To like
So
send
actually,
to a
if-
board member or something like that, or what?
You can screenshot, I think, on the actual app itself, on the main one, it might have a share. There's usually a share screen or a share button that lets you like print to PDF or something.
And also, Ruslin, this is Don,
Mhm.
District 5. We were sponsored through the county for individual accounts on ESRI, and we can do this from home and save maps.
If you create a
That way.
free account, you could download this data
Right.
if you wanted, yeah.
Yeah, well,
It's publicly
I have
available.
done that, yeah. So that would be another way of saving it, which wouldn't be a screenshot, it would still be live data.
Yeah.
Can you bring up that, the 2010 map that we put together that just has the,
Yeah. So let me pull that up. I think it was this one. So before you see the 2010 districts, District 3 in green, 5 in purple, 2 in yellow, and 1 in red. Oh, and 4 in blue. And also, you can kind of see it's layered behind it. Those are communities of interest that are currently split between districts. So Amador Pines 1 and 2, Carbondale, Grinding Rock, Jackson Pines, Lupe Road, Pine Acres, Ridge Road, Middle Ridge and Upper Ridge, Volcano, and that's it.
those, what we did was we took each of the communities of interest, and just for demonstration purposes, and layered them onto the current supervisorial districts. And what we discovered was that there really were only about 10 that were not totally contained within a district. For example, if you'll block, since we're there, Amador Pines 1 and 2, and click those on and off, so you can see that there's an overlap between the districts in 5 as well as in 3. In the community in those 2 districts. And pick another one, Roslyn. Volcano, okay.
I think some of these other ones.
Yeah, how about Amador City?
Oh, there's Volcano real quick.
There's Volcano. So you can see it overlaps again, green and purple or 3 and 5. Some of the others, if we were to go through all 10 of them, would find there's just a very small corner of an overlap. And the reason I asked Ruslan to do this was just for demonstration purposes and for the audience to see how we will be working with communities of interest and boundaries and overlaps, et cetera, as we move forward. I could have done the same thing on the 2020 map, but I had this one quickly up, and I thought it was informative to see that out of the 55 communities of interest that we've identified, that there really only currently are 10 that have part of them in one district and part of them in another. And we're all aware of Pine Grove that has all 4 districts contained within it. And that being the largest and the most distinctive issue with the current boundaries. Speaking just specifically of communities of interest.
Chairman Sweet, a quick question.
Sure.
From Katya Anderson, District 3. So we do plan on changing the data that is being referenced from 2010 to 2020, correct?
Yes, the map that Ruslan was showing you earlier is 2020 information. This map here is just for tonight's purposes only.
Okay, so this Esri one online is going to be adapted to the 2020 data.
Correct. The previous information that Ruslan showed with the maps and the communities of interest is a 2020 map.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, this map here is not really useful for anything other than demonstration purposes tonight. It just shows that how we can utilize and use the communities of interest on and off to see where they lie and how many there really are at this particular point in time. So, any other questions? Okay, you want to move on, Ruslan?
So speaking of the 2020 information, it's been kind of a process with the state and with Esri as far as getting that all organized and live and ready to go. And just a quick, I guess, update, and I think I explained it last time, but so on the 20th, September 20th, the state database, which was the group in charge of reallocating the prisoner data to their last known residency, they accomplished that on the September 20th, but I guess they had some errors in not in necessarily the population data, but in some of the other data. And then they redid that on the 27th of September, and that caused obviously cascading effects for Esri with our redistricting app. But I'm happy to say that on Friday, they implemented that into the redistricting app. So basically we are ready to go as far as we have the ability now to start creating districts with the correct data. We had a bit of a glitch with the prison data, but that's been solved. But in the meantime, before talking about the creation of districts on the hub site, everyone, in the audience, at home, on your phone, whatnot, can access the hub site, and there's these 2 maps here that show, this one right here is just the basic 2020 census blocks with their populations. It's just that. You can pan around and see which blocks have, or how the blocks have changed, I guess, and how much population they have. And then there's current district colors on here, but this is 2020 data. And And this map is a comparison of, there's been a few people asking questions on what it was like before and after, so I decided to put this in here. So in the meantime, maybe if you're at home and you want to poke around and see what's changed, you can see how, so some blocks have changed. For example, this block here, where in the past, this block was split, District 5 and District 2. Well, if you click it, it'll highlight the 2020 version of what's changed. Well, I think it'd be better to click a 2020 version and it'll show you what it was before. So on the right, you'll see I have this little section highlighted, but if I click on the section above it, which was still also part of that previous block, it'll still highlight. So on the right is 2020 blocks, on the left is 2010 blocks, and both of them have population numbers in the blocks. So and likewise, if I click this, it'll still highlight the previous block. And you can go around and see areas that have been updated, like this little corner here, where in 2010 it was, split. It's now become it's more kind of defined. So back to what Keith was saying previously, with some of the communities of interest being split, a few of them looks like might be taken care of as far as there's just more blocks to use.
If it looks like, this is Andy Byrne, it looks like they've actually gotten some of the neighborhoods more separated out, which actually works, because so some of our communities of interest where we've made them bigger because of the census blocks, we'll be able to, if we put a line through there, we'll be able to see that it's because there's a new census block and the population actually makes more sense that way. So that's actually a great advance, I think.
Without going,
Podium.
I'm sorry.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Steve Cannon from Volcano. This is all very interesting to go online and check this all out. I just kind of was wondering if Ruslan could give us a sense, or if anybody else can give us a sense of how the population centers have changed since 2010. We've got new data. I'm just kind of curious to know, do we have more people living up country? We have fewer people living in Jackson? Do we have more people in Ione? What's the general trend?
It's a good question. I don't know if Ruslan can use anything we've got here. This is the first time that we've actually seen the new 2020 data, so none of us up here, I think, unless Don has done some studies on it, really know the answer to that question. Our sense is that there's a difference of about, 2,315 people, actually. The county's grown by that between the 2010 census and the 2020. Not much. 7%. And my perception, personal perception, without looking at these places, is that the growth has been in the Ione area and the Plymouth area. Certainly we've seen the houses being built there. I don't know how much during that same time frame has been up country. Is there anything that you've picked up on that would give a better answer than mine?
Same thing. It's that Ione area that's had that growth. And maybe, so it's hard to do a kind of direct comparison because the blocks have changed. So most blocks have different IDs, right? So linking them together is difficult. However, I think I can try to make something that just shows maybe color in terms of green, high population, something like that, and then it'll be a comparison like this. That way you can just instantly see color and then see where the growth is.
If you could do that, that would be fine.
though I'm open to
Can't
suggestions.
do it tonight.
Well, what, can you look at the differences between census tracts? Because that's a much larger area that might show something.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, because that might be a broader general look at where the population is. When I did a mapping, this is Andy Byrne again, when I did a mapping just before with mostly 2020 data, it was flawed data, but I think it was probably close enough to get the idea. You could see that it was the Ione area, because that district had to shrink because of population constraints. So that's for sure, I saw that in the data.
Well, here's another question. I'm sorry, Steve Cannon again. I just recently saw in the newspaper that there's a proposed subdivision being for the Plymouth area, like another 250 lots.
Doesn't matter.
So none of the future planning,
No,
none of
it's
future.
all based on current.
And what's going on.
Actually, not current, it's based on 2020.
Right.
Yeah. We do know that the District 2 down in the Ione area had approximately 2,000 people more than the next supervisorial district, and it was out of whack by, a good 1,750 people. So we have to shrink District 2 by that many people if there was no growth.
Right.
Now that we've assumed there is growth in District 2, that makes its size will have to shrink even more. And when that happens, the other districts intellectually have to expand to come down in that direction. So I think what we're going to see is a movement to the west. The boundaries to the west of each of the other 4 districts. And there'll be, north, south, whatever, but primarily coming down the hill in order to suck up those 2,000 to 4,000 extra bodies that are extra population that's now in the Ione area. And just for the record, and the populations of each of the new districts must be between the largest district and the smallest, have to be within 5% of one another, which means they have to be within 365 of one another. By the way, I was using older data when I sent that memo out to all you folks. It said 403 or something like that. The differential is actually 365, which you probably all figured out yourselves.
That's not that hard a goal to meet, though.
Right. So whatever the largest district is, the smallest district can only be 365 numbers smaller in order for us to meet the requirements of the new district formations. So now that we've confused everybody, are there any other questions from our Zoom audience?
I have a question, Chairman Sweet. This is Ann Heisenbuttel. Ruslan, is it possible to click on several census tracts and aggregate the numbers? No.
Not with this, no.
Okay, thanks.
That is something we can do while we are creating potential districts. So that's how you kind of start building them, is you start adding, conglomerating them together.
Right. On the larger blocks, can you pull up the map? You don't have the maps for the larger blocks.
The tracts?
Tracts.
Not in this, but if we switch gears a bit and go to the actual redistricting app, and we can, I have a base map ready to go, but I'll create a new one just so everyone's on the same page as how this works. And in it, it'll show tracts and all that, and then I'll explain how we can add we won't need to add the data because we have a base map with all that preloaded. But it'll show the tracts.
Okay, so, and what we're talking about for those who might not understand the terminology is the tracts are larger blocks. The county is being divided up into, I don't know, 10 or 15 large tracts. And if we had the 2010 tracts and the 2020 tracts, you'll be able to tell the difference, how the numbers move between those two tracts. Is that that's the vision we're talking about? That's the question Steve asked, kind of where it moved to. And this would kind of show us that. Can you do that right this minute or next meeting?
The tracts are shown right now, I think.
They just go away when you zoom in, because it starts giving you blocks when you zoom in on it.
Yeah.
So those are the tracts. I think if I zoom in one, okay, they still show up.
Yeah, there you go.
Chairman Sweet,
Bigger.
Sure, yes.
we do have, Ms. Thompson, District 3 via Zoom now.
Oh, good. Hi,
Okay.
Stephanie.
Yeah, even at a glance at that, you can see the population at the west end of the county is, you just start adding those tracks up and they add up to 7,000 really fast.
Yeah. Now,
Yes, those are population numbers, yes.
those are, and what we're dealing with, I mean, when we're building the boundaries, we're dealing with this is a 15,000 foot level. We're going to go down to a 5,000 foot level and see the smaller census districts. And then you can move them around a little bit easier. But I was just suggesting that those right there, and then compare those to the 2010, then people will be able to look and see, okay, well, this one's now got 871, and before it only had, whatever.
Did the census tracts change from 2010 to 2020?
They probably did.
I mean,
we're still playing with apples and oranges.
No, I was just wondering if Ruslan actually knew if they had actually changed much.
I haven't looked at it.
Yeah, okay, and then, thank you.
So, again, this is the redistricting app, and this is how we will be creating the districts. You can add in whatever data you like if you can find it. So, for example, everything that we've been using has tags that are either Amador County, and then if you're looking for communities of interest, Amador County communities of interest, census designated places, city limits, whatnot. And you can, even on a public site at home, you can find this data. But for example, if I type in Amador County, so here are all those on the left-hand side. Those are all the communities that have been made, and we can add them into the map. Let me add a few. Well, actually, I don't need to because I've already done this. But basically, you can add these if you wanted. You can add in other data that you wanted. But for the sake of time, I created a base map for the redistricting that has all this data put in. And if a community member wants to come in and start making districts, this is the one they would open and then save as your own version. And this has a lot of data in it. So city limits, census designated places, and then some other stuff. There's other things that you can add in, but just to show how it all works, when you have all this data loaded in, you have cities and CDPs, right? And you want to go in and start creating districts. Oops. What did I do? There. You can start creating. So for example, District 3, I have that selected. The target shows 7318, so I know that's what I need to try to do. And I can, however, use my judgment to start creating it. But I know that, you know, I want to try not to go through communities or CDPs. But it's just like that. You start selecting area that you want to be in District 3. I think I did too much there. So something like this. And so you see,
You're up at a high resolution, so you're catching whole.
exactly.
The big blocks instead of the small blocks.
So then I'll zoom in to fine tune some.
Yeah.
So if I want this in District 3, I can go in and do that, get that area. Or even this volcano area, so even though there are some districts that are small, or some census blocks that are small like that sliver, I can get those in individually, like that. So the CDPs align with the census blocks, even these you can see. So that's good. It's easy to not split those, right? And if I were to add in the communities of interest that we've created, then it gets, I'll just, that one. Yeah. So for example, Amador Pines 1 and 2, I'll just do 1. I can see it's not split in this case, but that's how you would go about doing that. Or for example, if we'll shift gears to Comanche, so this is kind of how it works.
This is or is not on the website?
This is not on the
This is
website.
not- okay,
This is the one that we.
I want to make sure everybody knows that. And we have consistently at each meeting expressed that anyone from the public just needs to contact any one of us on the committee. We're more than happy to work with you or contact Ruslan, and he can arrange for any member of the public to come in and play with it, just as our committee members are going to be doing over the next several weeks.
Actually, your District 3 came out pretty good.
Yeah, so
The number's really close.
the District 3 that I just made, that I just randomly selected, you'll see the total 7,700 roughly on the total.
And the target number was 7,318. So there's District 3 right off the bat. We're done. No, please, everybody listening, this was a quick effort on Ruslan's part.
Yeah.
It's not, it may or may not represent the final map.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of a rough one too, because there's a hole in it, so.
Right.
And those are probably not acceptable, yeah.
Probably people living in that.
Yeah, I suspect.
And in actual fact, we're not supposed to publicize the maps until 3 weeks after the prison population was disseminated. So that would be another 2 weeks, I guess, and we won't be there. Okay, any questions on how to play with the maps from the committee members? Okay. So that's what we've done.
If I may, I have a question.
Yes.
Are you gonna be in tomorrow?
Yeah.
Good.
By the way, don't forget, you do have a map,
Yeah,
a Zoom,
a shared calendar.
you do have a calendar.
Yeah, we should probably use
You
that.
could please use that. I noticed that I'm the only one on it, but I know people are gonna be.
I've used it in the past. I haven't been in a couple weeks.
So-
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so we have current census information. The prison population's been disseminated. So we can move ahead. We've got the maps, as Ruslan's just identified. We have the table of contents, which has all the items that we've discussed: city boundaries, city spheres, communities of interest that we've identified. And by the way, the committee will accept additional communities of interest from anybody as we move forward until the final map is submitted, discussed. Okay, so that brings us down to item number 8. We have meetings scheduled for, how many meetings do we still have scheduled, Heather?
We have, 5.
5?
4.
Okay. And those were determined a long time ago in order for us to try to meet, as we're a month ahead of schedule in a sense. We didn't anticipate having the prison data until the end of October. So we're ahead in that time frame because we got it on September 27th or something like that. So essentially we're a month ahead of ourselves. That is good because that will give the Board of Supervisors more time than the 3 weeks we were going to give them to adopt a final map. And they have to have 4 more
Three more.
hearings.
They've had one. They needed 4, right?
Yeah.
3 more.
So they need
3 more. 3 more. I'm sorry, 3 more public hearings. So, having said all that, I'll entertain suggestions from the committee members or the audience as to how you might envision us moving forward. I have some thoughts myself, but I'll start off with anybody else. Silence.
Okay, fine.
Chairman,
Well-
I'd like to say that, in my world, the way I anticipate moving forward is, collaborating with anybody who wants to collaborate at the county planning department and coming up with a variety of different maps to select from. I think that there's enough wiggle room in the change in population that there's going to be an almost infinite number of ways we can do this, but I do anticipate being able to get this far better than 5% deviation. I think we can do 1% easily. I've done 1% over and over with previous maps with the old data, and I don't think it's out of the question to be able to hit that number and still maintain the integrity of the communities of interest.
Okay. Anybody else?
That's great. I love to hear you saying collaborative. I was thinking that I would love to see it if we can get groups of 2 or 3 from different districts to go create maps together at the county. I think that would be, having somebody that you're not used to mapping with or that you haven't done it with is, I think, a really good thing. It's like when I started doing it with Dawn, we approach it differently. You have a completely different approach when you're doing it in a collaborative fashion than if you're just sitting in your own little world creating a map. And I think that's a powerful tool.
Yeah, I have to say, I've done a lot of this work sitting at home. I can do almost everything at home that we can do in the planning department, and I've sat at home up late at night for far too many hours playing with these maps. But I think it's a lot more effective and better for the final result to be collaborative and get other inputs.
So I have a question, Andy Byrne again. We can start creating these maps. I think they're visualizations, I believe is the term we're called. So I would like to kind of maybe touch on what is allowed and how we're supposed to approach this by the state law.
Yeah, what's the final product supposed to look like?
Yeah, and I'm not sure how we approach that and how we produce, if we produce these maps, they can't be published. I'm not sure what that actually means when you say published. Does that mean that they actually go up on the website? Or, we have this big list that people can go into the county and see all the things that people have done. But I don't know what that, I guess I don't really know what that means.
It's my understanding that we cannot submit for board's discussion maps 1, 2, or 3 until roughly 2 weeks from now.
Okay.
There's no limitation on what we can do as terms of creating visualizations,
Right.
creating maps that work. And there's no problem with having that
Okay.
done at our meetings
Okay.
and showing up on the screen. We're just not putting them up on the website.
Okay, so that would be the definitive line, is that they're published. It was when we put them into the public domain on the website.
When we're ready to present them, when we've decided as a committee, the 1, 2, or 3 maps that we can agree on totally. We agreed earlier we would try for consensus on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'd try for that. I mean, if somebody may just object, that's fine.
Yeah, sure.
But when we've gotten down to those 1, 2, or 3 maps, we can put them up on the website as
Draft map.
these are the maps to be presented during the public hearing for the Board of Supervisors.
Right, okay.
And then it's up to them to discuss them.
Right.
We're done.
Right.
I mean, we may have to be at the public hearings in order to answer questions.
Yeah, they might want to know why we came up with the different discussions,
Which leads me to my next comment. I don't want to forget going back to this discussion.
Absolutely.
As you're developing your map, be very clear as to the reasons why you're doing what you're doing. I started with district number 3, blah, 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 because I made this decision, which is critical to split this community of interest because, so that if yours is a map that we're up for discussion later on in front of the board, you'll be able to stand up there and say to the board, this is why we decided to do this, why we as a committee decided to do this, even though you might have been the one to make that particular map.
Yeah, it would also be good when we're talking to each other at one of these meetings, describing your map, describing your theory and strategy. I like the idea of working collaboratively, no problem. My idea was, that each district committee members of 2, to start off with, create a map, and that next week we would take your district and your district and compare your maps, assuming that you think they were final, and we'd say, oh, okay, well, I like this one better now, so we'll push this one aside. Then we'd bring the next 2 in, et cetera, kind of trying to narrow them down a little bit. But it's interesting though, when you create when you start pick a spot to start, that has a big bearing on how your map.
Absolutely.
And the district you start with last becomes a piecemeal one that you're trying to gather population from or for. And it's kind of how I see how District 4 got created. It was utilized for population. Oh, District 1's not big enough, so we need to go up the hill a little bit higher, or District 5 is, so, and you can see kind of it got encroached because obviously since District 4 is that narrow district currently, it's the smallest geographic district, but it has roughly the same population as the other ones, within those boundaries. So it tells you that there's a population base there. So I can see that it really matters what your strategy going in on the impact on the map that comes out the other end. Because I did look at it. When I did a map, we did upcountry. We started with Ione because we know that's the biggest problem and it's like we had talked about. You can't have Ione can't be connected with Comanche or the area north of it. You can't have both. There's just physically there won't be enough space. Enough people. There's too many people there. So that you start there. And so that's one approach, and then we went to upcountry because that's a limitation too. It has to be You know, you can't split, you're not gonna run a line up the middle of the upcountry. So we brought that back down. So it's, the strategy makes a huge difference on your outcome, is I guess what I'm really saying. So talking about strategy here might be a good idea before we do that.
Yeah, and this is Don from District 5. That's why in some of my late night sessions at home, I would start off some maps with District 2. I'd start off other maps with Pine Grove and work out from there.
Yeah.
And other maps were started with the 49 corridor, and they all gave very different results.
Yeah.
Even though they were still all within 1%.
That may be true, but did you overlay them with the city boundaries, the city spheres?
I did do city boundaries, spheres of influence. I did not have, well, I actually did have all the communities of interest. I used the communities of interest for overlays, and because some of it was in 2020 census blocks, some was 2010 census blocks. There was some discrepancy in losing parts of mapped communities of interest, but only because of the difference in the census block boundaries. So they were
just
minor.
For clarification, you know, that's one of the, that's the fine tuning of it. And
Right.
so that will eliminate some of the maps that might be in population equal, but they're not, they don't work because the overlays don't work
Right.
as well as they do in something else where you have a differentiation of 300 and all of them work or something like that. So, so moving forward at the next meeting, what I would like to have is a discussion by two groups of two maps that we can start off with and say, here's where we started. This is how they differentiated. So and just get going that way. And then the following week, we'll have two other groups, two other maps. There's 10 of us. Well, so we have 5 groups. So we could have, pardon? 2 per group, yeah. Is that reasonable? Something we can start with, see how it works? Yeah. And Don cannot come in with 17 days.
Yeah,
Maybe we
kid.
can email each other
Actually,
to kind of find out what schedule of availability we have outside of this scheduled time to see when people can meet up for the group to look at the map and stuff.
I apologize, I did not hear her.
Yeah, if you could repeat that.
Yeah, so maybe we can email each other to see when a good time to meet up in pairs or groups of 3 or something to work on the map together as small groups in order to see what we want to do.
Yeah, the question is how are we gonna mix and match here? And then,
Right.
and again, at what times? Should we,
I personally would like to mix with somebody in a different district myself. I think I think I've done it. I would love to map with, enjoy mapping with Don, but I think we should both find other people, because I think we have some similarities in the way we've been talking about it. We have some similar philosophies on how we've been talking about mapping.
Yeah, I think they kind of grew together.
Yeah. And we created our mapping philosophies at the same time. So I would be inclined to pick somebody from a different district.
well, how about if I arbitrarily say, districts 1 and 5 and 2 and 3? And where would 4 like to go?
Well,
Excuse me. This 4 is linked up with 5 with Stephanie.
okay.
Okay,
What district are you? 2. Well, I would love to map with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna play with two also.
Yeah.
Well,
We'll have a few
because
different versions.
it's just so far away from where I live.
No, that's.
That
yeah.
was one of
Yeah.
my limitations, is that I do not know District 2 that well.
Yeah, yeah. And
Okay.
I did meet with somebody from
So
District
where
2
are we now,
really
just
met.
for the record? Andy, you're going to be with
4 and 2.
Yeah,
4 and 2.
yeah.
Chairman Sweet, would that be for the next meeting on the 20th?
It would be. And 4 and 2, so that means, 3 and 5?
I won't, and I won't
Well,
be, I won't be
you-
here,
you're-
Mr. Chairman. Jam's gonna cover.
Well, Ann and I were going to meet and map together, but if it's gonna be different districts, I'll get with somebody from District 5 if they're, no,
You're in
I'm sorry,
District 5,
District
yeah.
3.
Yeah.
If they're around.
I can happily meet with somebody as long as Ruslan has a Zoom camera. I can still be right there with you. If you'll have me, that is.
Katya's with 3.
We have a Zoom camera, or a
Okay,
webcam, sorry.
sweet. Then
I knew
then
that.
I can totally join.
Okay. And District 1 will work by ourselves to start with.
Okay.
Where's your partner?
My partner's in Spain, but he'll be back.
Okay.
Chairman
Maybe Stephanie.
Andy, email me what time you guys are meeting. I'll just kind of look over your shoulder.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that'd be great.
All right.
I know that Stephanie hasn't spoken. I don't know if she can't come to the mic right now, but I don't think she has a partner yet. You could probably pair with her.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
she
does,
she's District 3, so 3 will be meeting with
with 4.
4.
Yeah, we've already created that.
The 4 people. And District 2 will be meeting with 5, right?
Well, I was gonna be, the District 4, since we're split, we can meet with different districts.
Yeah, you're right in the middle. You can-
Yeah. Well, so I was gonna go with 2.
I don't mean to I am hard of hearing, but
Sorry.
can we run through this one more time? Ann, what district are you in?
I'm in 5, and I would be happy to meet with you, Chairman Sweet.
Okay, 5 and 1. And you, Don,
I am 5.
and you're meeting with?
Allegedly,
with
I
3,
am meeting with
Katya.
Yeah.
Okay. And Stephanie, can,
I'm right here. I don't
There
know
you
if you can, I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
Yes.
what?
Hi.
Are you here in the area, Stephanie?
I'm in Sacramento right now, currently. But
Because I think collaboration would be better if I could meet with somebody in person.
sure, just 4 o'clock any weekday works for me.
Okay, why don't you set me up with Stephanie? For District 5 and
How about both of them from District 3?
oh, yeah, why not? We can have one on Zoom and one in person.
Do it that way, because they haven't had an opportunity to play with these maps at all, so. And you're pretty versed in it, so let's have both of the 3s with you,
Okay.
and you guys. Okay, so we will take,
We'll figure our time out in the next, when the meeting's done, I think.
all right,
Chairman Sweet,
so each group, just 1 second, please. So each group will come next time prepared to present a map with your rationales, and we'll see how far we can work through it and see if we can eliminate anything.
Yeah, with rationales, I would also like to hear about strategies of approaching, how you're approaching it.
Well, that's what I'm
Definitely.
saying.
Yeah, no, it's all the same. I
I'm
see
including
the
that the
rationales
whole
as the end point, but also what your process of getting there. Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing.
You will, yes.
Yeah,
You're gonna
I think
need
you're
to explain that to 5 other people
Right,
later on down the road.
right.
So let's start explaining it to us to begin with.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yes.
we have a comment via Zoom.
Oh, please.
Ms. Peters, please go ahead when ready.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Awesome, thank you. So my question, this is Susan Peters, District 4. My question is, how is the public allowed to participate in this process? I know we can go in and create maps, but how do we get that to the committee for presentation?
You would, if in fact you're going to create a map, you would do so through Ruslan. I mean, he'd set it up. And then you'd notify Heather, the board clerk, the committee's clerk for the committee. And right now, that's our agenda item, our only agenda item for next week is that each of these groups will have a map prepared. And if you have created one as a community member, you'll just need to let Heather know in advance and you can present it.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Or I don't know if the groups that were created are willing to have public in their sessions as well.
We have no problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a problem with that.
No, I don't have a problem with that at all.
I think with the space that's involved, more than 3 people might be a little tough. You might be able to get 4 in there, not real comfortably, but 3 people is doable. I've been in with 3 and that's been okay.
Yeah.
Especially if you're going to actually be working on the piece together. So.
Okay.
We'll see how it goes moving forward, how many folks want to create their own maps, and we're as transparent as we can be.
I may be the only planning nerd out there, so.
Yeah.
I planned with somebody from the public. I did a map with somebody from the public who came in with me. And again, I think the more ideas and people you get in there on this is healthy for the design process.
I agree. Okay, thank you for that.
I also
Okay.
wanted to see if everybody would, sorry, can everyone hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay. Katya Anderson, District 3. I also was thinking about everyone sending out another flyer or another round of flyers or something, posting on social media to make sure that everyone, that it hasn't left people's minds, that they can still get involved in the whole redistricting if they want to.
Yeah, we had last Friday's newspaper had an article in it that Ann wrote. And I'm going on the radio again this next week. And if Heather wants to put together a little flyer to put out on Facebook or something, or give it to me, or.
Well, we don't have a Facebook for the county. I think earlier on it was determined that they would look into that for.
It's fraught. Okay. A Facebook page for the county is fraught with
terms and security reasons, but the article that Ms. Heisenbuttel had us published to the Ledger, we're also did send to the Upcountry News for their next printed edition, which will be in November, since October had already been published.
Yeah.
By the time we had that established.
That's a good suggestion, Katya. We'll get something up on social media. Yeah, well, Keith, you shared something a week or two ago, and several of us reshared it about the meetings, and so it's still been going out on social media. I don't know how widely it gets, consumed. But. Okay, well, we'll put a refresher out. Yeah. Okay. All right. So we have the agenda items for next week. There's one other item. We're scheduled to meet on November 4th, and we have several members of the committee and alternates that are not going to be able to make that meeting for other conflicts. We put it on Thursday the 4th because the school board was going to meet here on the 3rd. But it's my understanding now that the school board is willing to move to a different location. Oh. And then we're gonna try to bump them. So if there's, no one objects to moving from Thursday back to Wednesday,
I just moved it on my calendar.
will I create more conflicts by doing that?
No
Good
objection.
here.
Objection here.
Okay, so we'll move the meeting, from the 4th back to Wednesday, the 3rd, and Heather will be responsible for taking care of the school board issue. Okay.
Affirmative.
Nice.
Are there any other items, from the Zoom members or the committee members or the audience, that you'd like to discuss, or items for the next agenda that you'd like to add other than what we've already got?
I think that'll be a pretty full plate.
I think so too. But, so, if there's no objection, this meeting is adjourned.
I actually have one thing to add. Sorry.
There's an objection. All right.
Okay, you object.
Okay, Katya Anderson, Chair, Vice Chair of District 3. I just wanted to remind the board that I was communicating with an Amador High School professor to have the students get involved on the redistricting, and that the students can submit their maps and whatnot, or come in and talk to oh my gosh, I'm forgetting your name. I'm so
Which
sorry.
one?
What we're I'm so sorry. Planning department. I'm sorry. Roslyn, thank you. And talking to the correct people in order to make sure that if they have something that wants to be heard, they can, as well as a couple other people in the education system. I'm sure we'll be able to get in there. Is there like a particular date we'd like to recommend, since there might be more people than usual, or no? Because we did mention that
To the
next
best
meeting
of my
is gonna
knowledge,
be remote, right?
any date is fine.
Any date's
Yeah, I would
fine.
also,
We have no objection.
I would also say that you should encourage them to come to one of these meetings.
I was going to recommend that as well, yes.
Awesome, yeah,
Yeah.
because I think that would be a leader into then mapping.
Definitely.
I'm sorry, that's what I was referring to. I guess I misunderstood. You were talking to Ruslan about any time or date for them to come into the planning department. That was your
I was
question?
going to forward the contact information of Ruslin, if they wanted to come in and map for themselves to kind of see what we're working with and get a better idea of what it's like behind the scenes. I mean, of course, if they don't want to take advantage of that, I mean, that's fine. I'm sure it'll probably be like a small handful of students, but
In the beginning, I'm sorry to interrupt, in the beginning, I thought public needed to be with a committee member to come into the county. I don't,
That was,
I'm not sure if there's a problem with the planning department getting bombed with a lot of people. I don't know as far as your workload goes that way, trying to protect staff a little
Didn't
bit.
you have a job before you started doing this?
Yeah.
Yeah, going down that road.
As far as the logistics go,
Yes.
I just wanted to remind that calendar, the committee members have access to that calendar, so please use that. So
Yes.
staff can all see
Yes.
so we're not blindsided when someone comes in.
Right.
As far as a member of the public, if they come in with a committee member, then it kind of makes more sense. And then that way, whatever goes on, the committee member can then relay that to the whole committee. I think that's the way it's been, and it
Yeah.
should be, yeah.
That's how I understood that initially, and I'm not sure that I was maybe understanding it wrong.
no, you were right. We were trying to infringe upon the planning department's personnel as little as possible. I don't think we've done that, but.
No.
uh,
They've been troopers about it, but I also sit on the planning commission and I want them to do the rest of their job too.
Yeah, right. So to answer your, Katya, they should contact one of the members of the committee. We're all listed on the website.
So you think if any student has a concern or whoever, contact their corresponding chair member in order to help make sure that their ideas get furthered?
I
Basically,
think that would be the best.
Yeah, that'd be the best.
but of course, they're always welcome to join and whatnot,
Well,
right?
Well,
Oh,
always
for sure.
welcome to come to
This is
these
open
meetings.
to the
We
public.
encourage it.
yeah.
But if
Okay.
they want to,
Well,
if they want to use the equipment and do mapping, then they're gonna have to contact one of the committee members to arrange to meet with them to get that done.
Oh, okay. So if they want to do a map mapping, go through us first. That's what you're saying.
there you go.
Right.
Got it. Okay. Additionally, were we gonna look at any of the comments from the surveys posted online? Or I'm sure we've had more feedback since the last time we've checked it. Did we want to look at that in today's meeting?
We
went
did
over
that 2 weeks
pretty
ago.
thoroughly, last meeting.
Okay.
And, it's a good question. It will, between now and next week, we'll take a look at the additional ones. You've seen, did you see the summary that was done last week?
I saw part of it.
Okay.
So, Vice Chairman Anderson, to add to that, all of the videos or all of the meetings that we've had are YouTube recorded and posted on our redistricting site. If you wanted to go back and look at any, in particular, the summaries and what was discussed at the last meeting would be listed on the September 29th meeting on there, if you wanted to jump in and look at that.
Yes, thank you.
And Chairman Sweet, to add to the list of calendar meetings, the public hearings we have scheduled with the Board of Supervisors will be held at 10:30 on November 9th, Tuesday, November 9th, Tuesday, the November 23rd, and Tuesday, December 7th. I know for November 9th and November 23rd, we have at least one public hearing for each of those meetings. So depending on the nature of the topic, one will be chosen first, and I'm not sure how long that'll go. So if you do plan on attending, they do start at 10:30, but not certain what the order will be for those 2 dates.
Could you repeat those dates, please?
November 9th, November 23rd, and December 7th at 10:30. And the public hearing notices for all of those meetings will be sent out accordingly.
And that public hearing is specifically for
Redistricting,
redistricting. Okay.
that's correct.
Daytime meetings or evening?
They are daytime meetings,
Oh, good.
yeah,
10:30.
10:30. And you can either join in person or via Zoom. It's the same link and it's the same place where you'd find any other agenda online for redistricting and whatnot for our board.
And we already held one of the evening meetings earlier in the year, right?
We did,
Okay. just to make
June
sure.
30th,
Okay, that's what I
the
thought.
joint public hearing meeting. And we're required to have 3 public hearings with the Board of Supervisors.
All right. As I said earlier, we're adjourned.